Hi, welcome back to my channel. For this video I thought I would do a Christmassy tag. So I have picked the Christmas Carol book tag. So there are 9 prompts and they are all based around Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. So question 1 is The Ghost of Christmas Past, a book that was a childhood favourite. A book that I remember absolutely loving as a child that was just pure winter Christmassy atmosphere was a collection of short stories called Stories by Firelight by Shirley Hughes, and I had the audio version on cassette, and I think I got it when I was around 7, 8, 9 years old, and every year up until I was a teenager I would listen to this every single night for the whole week leading up to Christmas, just completely on repeat every single night. I absolutely loved it. All of the stories were just so atmospheric. They made you want to just wrap yourself up in the warmest blankets with a hot drink and just completely snuggle up and listen to these stories. Question 2, The Ghost of Christmas Present, a recent book that you think will become one of your all-time favourites. A book that I read earlier this year, and it's definitely not Christmassy or wintry or any of those, but Fisherman's Creek by Daphne du Maurier. But I read this and it definitely became one of my favourites. I absolutely loved it. It's by far one of the best books that I read this year, and I would definitely put it into a list of all-time favourites. So question 3, The Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come, a book coming out next year that you're most excited about. I have not paid any attention to any books coming out next year. I am actually setting myself a challenge for next year, which I will talk about in another video. But I purposely haven't looked into any new releases for next year. Question 4, Bar Humbug, a book that everyone else loves that you just can't stand. For this I'm going to have to say The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson. I did not enjoy this. Its only redeeming feature was that I really liked the descriptions of the house, but everything else was just disappointing. I didn't like any of the characters, and there was absolutely no creepy, spooky, scary, what I would call horror elements to it. And for a gothic novel, I was just bitterly disappointed. Question 5, Bob Cratchit, an old dependable that you always recommend. I'm going to have to go back to Daphne du Maurier and say Rebecca. It is one of my favourite novels of all time. I absolutely love it. I've read it probably about 6 times, I think, and it's definitely an all-time favourite that I would probably recommend to absolutely everybody. Question 6, Tiny Tim, an underhyped book that you think deserves more love. I would probably have to go for Cujo by Stephen King, because I definitely don't think it gets as enough love as it deserves. I really, really like that book. I love Cujo. He is not the villain in the traditional sense that I think a lot of people think he is. And I know a lot of people actively avoid reading it because they don't want to read about a rabid dog, and I can kind of understand that. But overall, I think it's an absolutely brilliant book. I've read it a couple of times and I love it. Question 7. Today, Why It's Christmas Day. What's a book that always gets you in the mood for Christmas, apart from A Christmas Carol? So my answer for this one is 'Twas the Night Before Christmas by Clement Moore. It's just such a beautiful poem, and depending on which edition you can get some really wonderfully illustrated ones that they are just pure Christmas. And I think it's definitely a book that if you give it to a child who is already showing signs that they love reading, it will be a story, a poem that stays with them for years. It's one that has gone down through the generations, and I think it's for a really good reason, because it's just brilliant. Question 8. The Muppet Christmas Carol, your favourite film adaptation of a book. So sticking with the theme of A Christmas Carol, I am going to have to say Scrooge with Alistair Sim, which I think was from the early 1950s. And I love it. I watch it almost every year. I think Alistair Sim was absolutely fantastic as Scrooge. There were some other really funny elements to it. It's always been a story that I've liked anyway, even when I read it as a child. But I think it's just one of the best adaptations that there's been, and it definitely gets me in the mood for Christmas whenever I watch it. And then question 9, the last question, just says tag some people. But I'm going to do what I do every time I do a tag, and you know, if you want to do it, then do it. If you have done this tag or you want to do it, then drop me the link in the comments below and I will watch your video. Or just pop a few comments down below and let me know what some of your answers have been. So that is the tag video. So I hope you all have a wonderful season and end of the year, however you celebrate it or not, whatever you choose to do. I hope you are all well and you stay well, and I shall be back in the new year with more videos. Bye.